Today's guest is Rodney Jones, changing the narrative on Black health and cancer care. Rodney is a leader and advocate, a powerful voice in the fight for health and equity through the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. This episode is about changing the way we talk and act on Black health and cancer care. Let's chop it up. Rodney Jones, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing very well, Tony. Thank you for having me today.
Thank you for being here. So, Rodney, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who is Rodney Jones?
Well, let's see. That's my favorite subject. I'm Rodney Jones. I was born in San Antonio, Texas. My upbringing was in Charleston, South Carolina. I moved here in North Carolina to attend St. Augustine's University. I've got an extensive career in nonprofit management, and I'm a senior human. So when I got to the edge of my career, I decided to join the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society to make a difference to those with blood cancer and to support their mission.
That's amazing. So I spent a little bit of time in Texas. Um, what do you guys have to stock the grocery store down there? HEB? Yeah,
Yeah.
HEB grocery stores. And I spent some time doing some work for McLean Distribution in Temple, Texas.
Wow.
I live right outside of Georgetown and would hang out in Austin. So your parents, you born and raised there, you say, huh?
Yeah, actually, my father was in the military. My folks are from Charleston, South Carolina. My dad was in the military. So I had an opportunity to, military brat, if you will, and I had
Mm-hmm.
an opportunity to interface with quite a number of people during the course of his career in the military where we traveled.
Mm-hmm.
And he retired in Charleston. That's where my upbringing was. And so I was trying to get to Hollywood so that I could be the next Kevin Hart, but I landed in Raleigh, North Carolina. So here I stand.
How about that? So comedian at heart?
That's it.
All right. That's amazing. St. Augustine's College. A lot is going on with the university now. I mean, how do you feel about that?
I think that we are going to be on good footing eventually. We're working things out. We've got town halls. The Falcons are banding together, and we're trying to get back on the right track.
So you mentioned the edge of your career. So you're starting over in a different capacity. What led you to this journey in helping people with cancer, such as myself? I'm
Mhm.
a stage 4 cancer survivor. What drew you to this part of the journey, Rodney?
I really believe in service and advocacy to the community.
Hmm.
That is why I work in nonprofit. I worked for the International Society of Automation for almost 30 years in education and training. And I wanted to do something a little bit different that would impact the lives of individuals positively. So I came across some information that the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society was making a specific intent to reach out to the Black community, the African American community, and to make sure that they were connected to resources. And
Hmm.
I found that information out through a blood cancer patient.
Hmm.
Once I investigated a little bit more, I had to get in. I had to step in.
I call it angel work. I first got diagnosed in 2021. LLS was one of the first organizations that I had contact with, and they were amazing. And I think the thing that I love about your organization is the trust factor.
Absolutely.
Oftentimes there's so many organizations out here, you don't know if they're for real. You don't know if it's just a smoke and mirrors campaign. But LLS is truly one of the great organizations that truly care about humanity and those that are going through cancer. And people like yourself, I look at you as being the angels that's healing people with broken wings. I had a broken wing, and
Mm,
you guys kind of swooped in and helped me heal my broken wing. And that's something to be said about that level of commitment. And especially in our communities, Rodney. I mean, in our communities, what are you seeing in regards to cancer and how we look at cancer, and just from a historical standpoint of how we don't trust the medical industry or anything kind of associated with it? What are you seeing as an advocate and as a leader with LLS?
Well, let me say I appreciate your words. They mean quite a lot to me. I want to also say about the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society really quickly
Hmm.
that I see authenticity and I see direct care.
Yeah.
And I see that from an internal standpoint with our staff and our volunteers and our blood cancer patients who, even though they're diagnosed, even though they're going through the cancer journey, they still volunteer, they still participate, they still give and give back.
Hmm.
And because I see that authenticity and I see that realness, I had to jump in with them.
Hmm.
And I think that they want that. That's what I
Mhm.
feel like I see on the road with community outreach. People are looking for authenticity. They're looking for realness.
Yes,
And we
they are.
find that in the cancer care community, specifically the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society.
Yeah, you broke that down nicely for us, explaining what LLS was and is. So, in this space, what are some of the main drivers that make you different, make your organization different from all the rest? I know you mentioned the things that you love about the organization and people like me that participate in the organization, but what makes your organization stand out in the mind of Rodney Jones?
I love that question. And I love that you put in there that what makes the organization stand out in the mind of Rodney Jones. I think that it is something that is not lost on me, that it is the only organization that is specifically geared towards finding a cure for all blood cancers and improving the quality of life for patients and their families. We
Mhm.
not only focus on leukemia, lymphoma, Hodgkin's disease, and other blood cancers, but we want to find a cure for all blood cancers. And there's a ton of money that is going towards research and that is going towards improving the lives of patients and their families. And I can look in your face and tell you, I've been on the road with these cancer patients.
Oh,
I've
yeah.
shared tears with them. I have held their hands. I have put my arms around their family members, and LLS is in the forefront of making their lives better.
Changing the narrative on Black health and cancer care. This is Rodney Jones. You know, I love what you said about the authenticity, the trust factor. You know, as a cancer patient, that's one of the things that matters to me. Can I
Absolutely.
trust you with my words? Can I trust you with my information? Can you manage the information that I give you skillfully? And it seems like the Lymphoma Society, LLS, is doing a great job with some of the resources that you guys provide. I mean, can you tell us a little bit about? I was reading up on the myeloma link. Can you tell us a
Mhm.
little bit about that and some other things that you guys have in place?
Absolutely. Well, I want to emphasize always, and you know this, that the mission of LLS is to find a cure for blood cancers.
Hmm.
And we work to improve the quality of life for patients and their families.
Yeah.
What I really like to tell people, realistically, is that there's somebody much more smart and much more intelligent than Rodney Jones, who is in a laboratory, who is wearing a white jacket,
Yeah.
who is behind a microscope looking for a cure for blood cancers constantly. And we're going to find one. And while that's going on, we've got 40 other professionals like myself, volunteers that are looking to improve the quality of life for patients and their families. What LLS did, and I'm putting this in my words,
Yeah.
is they are committed to inclusivity. They're
Uh-huh.
committed to health equity. And when there was some conversation about getting to all communities, they realized that they weren't necessarily getting to the Black and Brown communities as much as they wanted to.
Yeah.
So they decided to form what is called Myeloma Link, which is connecting African American and Brown communities to the expert care, support, and I want to say love
Yeah.
that is generated from LLS to connect those individuals to expert care, to resources, financial resources, peer to peer support, 900 books and publications, uh, clinical trial support, public advocacy to make sure that blood cancer patients aren't getting taken advantage of by drug companies, by hospitals,
Hmm.
by other organizations. We're fighting for them to make sure that their rights are protected.
Listen, everybody, this man stands 10 toes down on what he's saying here. He's preaching to us right now. You know, when I first met Rodney, I could tell the infectiousness of his personality, the sincerity that he brings. And one thing that you've said a couple times already is the word cure, right? When I was going through my chemotherapy and CAR T, I always used to tell my doctor, I don't want to hear the word remission. To me, remission leaves the door open for a possibility of something returning. I want to be healed. And to be
Absolutely.
healed, that means to be cured. And when you said that word, it sparked something in me. And I hope it sparked something into you listeners that they want you to be made whole, not part of for the rest of your life, but cured. And I love that when you said that word cure. You want to find a cure. You want me to be complete. You want
Mhm.
all the listeners that's going through this to be complete. And I can feel that energy. I love it. I love that.
Let me just say that I really want to work myself out of a job. And I say that because I heard it from my colleagues, and that's the intent, that's the hope, that's the desire that we find a way to do away with all blood cancers.
Oh yeah. Too often we ignore symptoms until it's too late. We've got
Correct.
to normalize health and conversations in our household about being sick.
Hmm.
No matter what the modality is, we just don't want to talk about being sick at all. We don't
That's
want
right.
to go to the doctors. And when we do, sometimes we get to the party a little bit too late. And so Rodney Jones is here to help us with that, people. Rodney Jones, LLS. Rodney, what's some things that we need to know about blood cancers like lymphoma, leukemia, and myeloma? What's some of the warning signs? What would you tell a person if they came to you and asked you what's the difference between the three? And what's some of the things they can look out for?
Oh, I want to. That's a very powerful question. I want to step back to something that you said. I
Mm,
was that guy that did not necessarily like going to the doctor. I didn't want to talk about sickness, and some of those individuals who are listening to us right now probably can identify with that.
yeah,
We just want to get out of that doctor's office as quickly as we can, and we're not talking about it enough.
that's
What we
right.
talk about, especially among our people, are diabetes, high blood pressure.
Mhm.
We call it the sugar.
The
We
sugar.
talk about obesity, those things, and nobody's talking about blood cancer, and we
Yeah,
should. Some
yeah,
of those signs and symptoms include things that you might associate with everyday feelings,
yep.
being tired and weak. We take a Tylenol and keep it pushing. Being dizzy, tingling in your feet, bone fractures, bone
Mhm.
pain. We'll take an Advil and go on to work
Yeah,
instead of asking the doctor the second question, instead of having a conversation with your spouse and your children and saying, I don't feel right. Something
mhm,
in that gym didn't feel right. I
yeah,
jammed my finger and it won't stop hurting. My
yeah,
back won't stop hurting. I've been having headaches for days. When
yeah,
those things happen, you really have to do what? Advocate for your health. I
yeah,
always tell people I'm telling too much of my business, but I drive a 2003 Honda Accord. And
yeah,
the reason that car has been on the road for 20 years is because I took care of it.
yeah.
And if I want to take care of that car so I can get to work every day, I got to take care of my health.
That's right. Early detection. You mentioned something about back hurting. That was one of my symptoms. I'm a gym rat. I'm a
Wow.
cyclist, and I was doing all those things, and my back was constantly hurting. And I went to the chiropractor, and that didn't fix it. And so on and so forth, which led to me being diagnosed with cancer. So something as simple as a back issue, which I thought was stemming from the gym or cycling, led to stage 4 cancer. So Rodney's
Mm.
exactly right. It's those small symptoms that you overlook. You throw some ice on it. You take that Tylenol or Advil and you keep it pushing. But sometimes you got to pause. But look, Rodney, in knowing this, what's some other things that you can encourage our listeners to when uh, they're in a small community? They just have a general practitioner, and all doctors are important. Rodney and I aren't doctors. We're not giving doctoral advice, but everybody is important. But tell us a little bit about getting that second opinion and how sometimes that does matter.
Well, this is really interesting. It reminds me of a conversation that took place in a conference that you and I were involved in.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was you that talked to us quite a bit about how we can question our doctors.
Yeah.
We can advocate for our health. And
Yeah.
I'm big on advocacy.
Advocate.
Nobody's going to take care of that car but you.
That's right.
Nobody's going to take care of that body but you.
That's right.
And we found that doctors really do appreciate the fact that we make them do the work. You're
Mm-hmm.
paying that $25 copay, that $50 copay. Your insurance may be covering that doctor fee. You got to make that doctor do his work by asking him questions. Make
Mm-hmm.
him explain that chart to you. Make him explain those numbers to you. So
Mm-hmm.
advocacy is really important, specifically if you're in a rural area.
That's right. Reaching the people. You're an expert on reaching the people. Tell us a little bit about your process. How do you go about reaching the people?
I think the first thing that we do is we go where the people are. And this is one of the things that I like about the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society is they give us autonomy. They give us an opportunity to be creative, to reach people and meet people where they are. That is so cliche.
Yeah.
But with the Myeloma Link initiative and with any other programs that we have, I always tell people this, we get to go three places, your place, my place, or anywhere in between.
I love
And
it.
when we go those places, we provide education, we provide resources, and anything you need to make your quality of life better. whether you're a blood cancer patient or not. If you're a blood cancer patient, we've got resources for you, including financial resources, peer-to-peer support. And if you're not, then we got a volunteer opportunity for you.
Oh yeah.
You can help make somebody else's life better. And
Mhm.
so we go where the people are. So we work with fraternities, we work with sororities, we work with civic groups,
Mhm.
civic organizations. And I want to say to anybody, if you belong to one of those organizations, church, civic group, a state and a local authority, contact us here at LLS. I know that you'll put our website, www.lls.org, our information resource center, in your chat and make that available. We've got something for you. We've got information for you. Maybe some of it you've heard, maybe some of it needs to be re-emphasized, but come on, there's plenty to do.
I'll tell you what, before you leave today, we're gonna change you. We're gonna call you Evangelist Rodney Jones, Evangelist for Cancer. You know, it seems
That'll
like
work.
that'll work. Yeah, let's make it happen. So community outreach is very important to you. I
Mm,
know just in private conversations, we talk a lot about how you are actively involved in churches. You are an Alpha Phi Alpha man. You're very
yeah.
active in that area, in that space. So tell us a little bit about your community outreach. Your churches, your health fairs, the career, the cancer center communities, things that you do. Can you kind of tell us a little bit about that?
Sure, sure.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that my longest and fondest memory, back when I had hair, I
Mhm.
remember being on King Street in Charleston, South Carolina, and I was collecting money for Youth for Christ.
Yeah,
So I've always been involved in outreach, and
yeah.
there's just something about wanting to reach people and wanting to meet their needs. We
Hmm.
do that in Alpha, we do that in the Divine Nine, and it's sincere. There is no reward except to know that you made somebody's life better. So when
Awesome.
I came across LLS and the fact that they were reaching blood cancer patients, I realized that we've got, all of these organizations that are dedicated towards multiple sclerosis
Hmm.
and dementia, but we really don't talk a lot about blood cancers enough. So
Hmm.
this is where I fit.
Yeah.
And it is important to reach out to the community and to connect them with resources that will, help them make their lives better, whether they're blood cancer patients or not. I think the things that's fortunate for me, and you've seen me, we've done events together.
Hmm.
Uh, they need us.
They do.
They need us.
Boots on the
Um,
ground.
and I want to pinpoint it. That blood cancer patient needs what we call hope. So we
Yes.
put them in touch with another peer. We call it the First Connection program, where they get peer-to-peer support. And that parent of a blood cancer patient needs a way to explain to that kid why they got to wear a mask when they're playing out in the yard. And
Yes.
then that parent of a blood cancer patient who has a sibling needs a way to explain to that sibling who does not have the blood cancer why their sibling is getting more attention than they are.
Hmm.
So much is necessary.
I needed
So
hope.
when I see that need, I
Hmm.
want to respond to it. It's
Hmm.
just important. We've got to reach out to the community. We've got to do our part. And if you've been fortunate enough not to have been touched by any of those blood cancers or any of those diseases, you are, I think, obligated to help somebody else. That's just my own observation.
I love that. I love your concern and your love for just mankind and humanity. You know, hope is important. In my journey, there were times I never asked why, but it didn't change the fact that sometimes you can feel hopeless in your situation when
Hmm.
you can't control your situation.
Yeah.
And I think oftentimes blood cancers are one of those types of cancers that people they don't quite understand because it's nothing they can touch or it's not something they can see a lump from, but it's running in the essence of your body, is in your blood, and that's the essence of life. And sometimes
Mhm.
just not knowing where it's going and what it's doing can kind of make you feel like you're hopeless at times.
It
But
certainly
you got
can.
to keep going. You got to keep going and believing and trusting that good people like you, good people like LLS are there for you to give you whatever resource you need to be that listening ear. And so we're talking about that today with Rodney Jones. Boots on the ground. Rodney is a boots on the ground soldier. He's now our new proclaimed evangelist. So, Rodney, your boots on the ground. I guess this is a way that you can build trust in the community.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Trust is really important.
Yeah.
I know that our community specifically, the Black and Brown communities, Black folks, we have troubles with clinical trials.
Yeah.
And what LLS does have is something called the Clinical Trial Support Center.
Mm.
I like that because you can call them and ask any question.
Okay.
You can call them and find out how to become involved with clinical trials. Um, there's no question that it goes unanswered. They'll find an answer for you. And I mention that because it is so important to understand that clinical trials, number one, gives you an opportunity to find out what medications work for you, what
Hmm.
medications work for a specific people. And then it offers a sense of hope. I had another blood cancer patient tell me this, and certainly I'm not going to call any names, but this resonated with me. This individual said to me that clinical trials gives you hope that somebody is performing research to find something that will make their lives better.
That's a good way to say it. I mean, it's not like days of old when we think about Tuskegee or Henrietta Lacks. Now in clinical trials, you're literally getting the best that they have to offer. And I
You
think
are.
we need to take advantage of that, and we need more advocates. I've been a participant in clinical trials, and I'll tell people everywhere that I go that I'm one of you, and I did this too. I have faith
Mhm.
and I believe in God and I believe in all of that, but I believe that in the greatness of that, we all are still connected and we all have different gifts and skills that can be utilized. And I'm
That's
just
right.
using that skill set that someone has in that clinical trial. And
You're
so
absolutely
yes, yes. So we're talking about um, LLS. We're talking about cancer care in the Black community with Rodney Jones. Rodney, you're very disciplined. You have drive, and clearly you want to leave a legacy. What keeps you going?
let me tell you something. That question is real deep, and I'm going to be very transparent with you.
Yeah.
Um, when I die, and I don't want to be morbid, but we have something in the Divine Nine called the Omega chapter,
Mm-hmm.
the chapter that you go to when you pass away.
Yeah.
At my Omega service, I want somebody to say he was in the fight to
Yeah.
find a cure for blood cancers. And while that was going on, he was working to improve the lives of patients and families. I want that written in my obituary. I
Yeah.
don't care if it's you. I want somebody to stand up and say that
Yeah. I
because I
understand.
believe in this. I think it's necessary. I
Beautiful.
think it's something that I intend to do. And I'll tell you, in 2023, when I first heard about LLS, I really did talk with my pastor and I said, this opportunity has come fallen into my lap, and I
Mm-hmm.
I really want to join them. And he said, go ahead. It's part of ministry.
Mm-hmm.
And you talked a minute ago about being a believer. I am definitely a believer in Jesus Christ. Someone said to me, well, I believe the Lord's going to heal me. And I said, I believe it too. Isaiah 55.
Yeah.
We're healed by his stripes. By his stripes we're healed, right? We quote it all the time. But while you waiting on that healing, while you waiting on that deliverance, don't you want some of these free resources,
Yes,
some of
sir.
these financial resources, some of the resources from the Information Resource Center, where we have highly trained individuals from the oncology space, social workers who can answer your questions and give you the information you need, clinical trial support, peer to
Mm-hmm.
peer support, while I'm waiting on my healing.
Yeah. Yeah. For my listeners out here that may not believe as Rodney and I believe or have that type of faith, one time I was in a chat group and at the end of the day, the word that you use so eloquently, cure. We all want to get to that place no matter what vehicle we use. And so my vehicle of choice is my faith and my belief in Jesus Christ and my belief that God will heal me. And at the end, I know what this outcome is going to be. So I was
Come on now.
having this conversation with a young man that didn't believe in any of that. And here we have two cancer patients. He says, I believe in stats and data. And to surmise the conversation, I told him, I said, listen, at the end of the day, it's nothing against you believing in the data or the science. It's nothing against me believing in faith, the data, and the science. At the end of the day, we want to get to the same place. I'm not
Absolutely.
here to argue with you on what vehicle we use
Right.
because he was trying to pit the religious aspect, faith, versus the science aspect. But at the end, that doesn't matter. We want to
Right.
be healed and made whole. And
Right.
so, to your point, the vehicle is the way we get to the healing,
Yes,
right?
sir.
It what drives us to the healing. Your legacy is about the people that you touch. It's about who remembers your name, who remembers Rodney Jones and what he did.
Mm,
That's what you're
mm.
speaking on. We need more people like Rodney Jones, ladies and gentlemen. We need people that has an affection and care for God's creation, for mankind, which extends through this vehicle to get us to healing through what we're going through with this cancer. And so,
That's
Rodney, I
right.
definitely appreciate that. So we're talking about service, we're talking about purpose, we're talking about kindness, we're talking about legacy, and it seems like you have a good idea of what that means to you.
I would like to hope so. I think that
Yeah.
it's important to help somebody else. Um, it is important to reach out. And what you said earlier really, really resonates with me. We are at the same place and we want to get to the same place, which is a cure.
Mhm.
And if I've got faith and hope and
Yeah.
I'm riding on that and that's keeping me going, then let me keep that.
Keep
And if
that.
you got your data and your science and that's driving you towards looking for a cure, supporting organizations who are looking for a cure, who are funding for a cure, do exactly that.
Do
But
that.
we'll work together.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't want to preach, but even the Bible says we're working together with Christ.
Yeah,
So if
yeah.
somebody's trying to get where I'm going, come on, catch a
Come on,
ride.
let's go.
We're
Let's
going to
ride.
get to the island of cure together.
If someone is listening right now, Rodney, and they want to take that next step, they don't know how to do it, and they have you and they're listening to you on this podcast, Eagles Don't Quack, what should they do?
I want to say that make up your mind that you want to join us in the fight. We're fighting, a common enemy, right? All cancers are bad cancers,
Yeah.
but we're fighting blood cancer. So get in the fight with us. If you are a blood cancer patient, we've got resources for you, and I can tell you more about that. But if you're not a blood cancer patient, somebody needs your help. And we look for volunteers all the time. We look for volunteers in patient community outreach, where we're having education programs for patients. We're reaching out to them. We're tabling, trying to get them information. There's something for you to do. And if you want more information about that, www.lls.org
Love it.
or 800-955-4572 is the number to our information resource center. Ask for Rodney Jones. Just tell him you saw the bald-headed short guy on the podcast, and he told me to call.
Look, you don't need a medical degree to fight for your life, right?
That's right.
What you need is information, and Rodney has the information. Then let's pivot a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about Rodney Jones. Tell us something about you that nobody knows.
Something about me that nobody knows. I guess I grew up a mama's boy.
Hmm.
I'm still a mama's boy. I really feel like this is something that my parents, who are both gone,
Yeah.
would be proud of. I'm happy to be where I'm sitting right now.
Hmm.
This is something that I somehow happenstancely fell into in February of 2003. I'm glad to be there. I've been in conferences with you. I've been in workshops with you,
Hmm.
and I think it's evident that I enjoy working with people like you. You can
Yeah,
tell I like what I'm doing. I
you do.
fit.
You fit. You do. If you could be doing anything else on this earth, I think you are doing exactly what you want to do.
I really am.
Yeah.
I did, and I'll say to the listening audience, I got an education. I have an advanced degree, 30 years of work in instrumentation, but
Hmm.
this I enjoy.
This you enjoy. If you could be anywhere right now, Rodney, if someone says, Rodney, I'm going to send you on a trip, on a journey, where would you want to go and why?
Let me see. I think that I would want to go probably to Charleston, South Carolina. That's my home.
What?
Um, there are friendly faces and smiling faces in North
Wow.
Carolina. So
What's
I
not
would
to
want to be
say?
there.
Want to
And
be home.
I think that's kind of where my makeup is, right? In Charleston, South Carolina, for anybody who doesn't know, you're considered rude if you don't speak to the person that's passing you on the street. You sit next to somebody, you got to greet them. They teach you there more than any place else to have manners and to reach out to somebody and to help somebody. You don't go in anybody's house without something in your hand,
Yeah,
and you're
yeah.
not going to leave without something.
Well, I'll tell you what, I got a connection to Charleston. One of my roommate in college, one of my best friends to this day, Delmus McHale, was from Charleston. So I used to spend a lot of time in Charleston. He lived over there on William Street.
Wow,
And look, I'm gonna hit you with this one. What do you know about Mosquito Beach?
man, plenty about Mosquito Beach. First of all, the way we fight mosquitoes on Mosquito Beach is we start a fire and then we start smoke. And smoke,
Yeah,
a lot of people don't realize it, but smoke keeps away mosquitoes.
I remember my first experience with Mosquito Beach, and I was like, "Oh my god, what is this?"
Mhm.
So yeah, Charleston, South Carolina, we have that connection. Rodney, thank you so much for being here. It was a pleasure having you here. Thank you for keeping it real with us today. Anything else you want to tell to the listeners?
Yeah,
Uh,
Tony, I want to say this. I want to thank you for your work in the fight. I want to say to the listening audience right now that you are a patient,
Thank you.
a victor, somebody that we call in LLS an honored hero,
Thank
somebody that is fighting, right? And then helping us in the fight.
you.
I
Thank you.
called on you to participate in one of our patient education programs. You showed up, you showed out. I really kind of remember that we almost went to church towards the end, but
Yeah.
it was really good.
Yeah.
We were at the historic Hayti Heritage Center in Durham, North Carolina.
Yeah.
We had patients there, doctors, clinical trials experts, and we had the community there. And we all focused on that one topic. But I want to thank you for being in the fight and providing platforms like this where we can raise awareness, talk about LLS's mission, and talk about the myeloma initiative.
LLS, such a great organization. To everyone listening, health is power, knowledge is power, and we're
100%.
here to help you use both. Remember, Eagles don't quack, we rise, we fight. Rodney Jones, LLS, Evangelist Rodney Jones, Cancer Warrior. Thank you so much for being here, my friend. And I look forward to seeing you in person, doing something else with you, and having you back on the podcast.
You'll bet. I'll be glad to participate.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, bye bye.
Bye bye.